There's this idea, we kind of become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Sure, it's cute or whatever, but I think there's also this part where you do it in a way that's totally unconscious and you're losing something in the process as opposed to picking something up or just being in sync.
Yeah, I had a friend in Kenya and she got married. And within a year or two, she starts talking, thinking like her husband. In so many ways, she adored him. Like he was like a god to her. So everything he said, the way he thought was better, you know? But I think when you're in a relationship like we are in, where we both feel confident in what we are bringing to the table, then it's not that unhealthy. I think you need to be comfortable. And then if you're not comfortable and you don't have the confidence, then I think that's where the issue becomes.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Interracial Couple Podcast.
Where it's not all black and white. My name is Sarah. I'm black.
I'm Matthew. I'm white. And today we are diving into this question about losing your identity in a relationship.
Yeah. So the other day I was talking and I just realized like it's happening more and more that you finish my sentences.
Or you finish mine.
Sometimes I finish yours.
It's a two-way street.
It is
right?
a two-way street. But on that specific day that I'm talking about, we were in the kitchen talking to someone, a friend, and I was about to say something, and you said the same exact thing I was about to say.
That's different. We do complete each other's sentence. The other is we gave the exact same answer in the same intonation, in the same word choice as each other.
And I was like, oh my God, I think
I have completely lost my identity.
I speak like this man. I think like this man. Should I be worried?
Yeah. Should you be worried? Well,
I think I don't think I should be worried. I think right now it's cute.
Yep.
But I think if it becomes like where we're saying like the same thing, think alike, I think I should be worried.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, when you spend a lot of time with someone who you like, you kind of, there's this idea, right, that you can be on the same wavelength. So if we're on the same wavelength, it kind of makes sense, right? And I think maybe there's two sides of that. One is if we're on the same wavelength and that feels good, and the other is that when we're off, it's somehow that could we then get into other disagreements or whatever because we're not synced, and then those times seem bad or worse or whatever. You know what I'm saying? To where I guess what I'm trying to say is that it can seem like it's cute, or it can seem like I'm losing my identity, or it can seem like, well, we're just often on the same wavelength, so therefore when we're not, that somehow that's a problem.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think if you're in a healthy relationship, I don't think it's a problem.
To be on like...
Yeah, to be on the same wavelength. I think the issue becomes if it's not a healthy relationship, then there is an issue. And
there's also like the unconscious thing is when I worked with this guy for a while who had a very distinctive laugh. It was almost like a little bit like Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop. And I never laughed like that.
Okay.
And then I spent a lot of time with him and I started laughing like that. And then I kind of kept it. And then I went and I did a big trip or something with two of my best friends in Germany. And one of them didn't laugh like that. And then he started laughing like that. Funny enough, he actually still laughs like that.
And it was because of you.
Yeah, because we like spent so much time together. And that I think is like, sure, it's cute or whatever, but I think there's also this part where you do it in a way that's totally unconscious and you're losing something in the process as opposed to picking something up or just being in sync.
Yeah, I think I just remembered as we were talking when I was a kid, there was this girl that I thought she was absolutely gorgeous. I wanted to be like her. I wanted everything. You know, when you're just like, this woman is so beautiful. And she walked in a really funny way. So I copied the way she walked. And then my mom was like, why are you walking like that? And I was like, oh, because of so-and-so. Mm-hmm. And my mom was like, I think she had an accident or something. And she was like, if I ever see you walking like that again, I'm gonna whip your ass. And I'm so grateful that my mom noticed, because I was starting to see this woman all the time because she was friends with my cousin. And so I'd see her so many times. I guess it's like you spend so much time with someone, you start copying their good and bad habits.
Right. And so being aware of it and to what extent is it beneficial, and also being aware when things just kind of become the way they are. We are becoming more like each other. And I think that's one of these things, right? Is that there's this idea that you actually shared with me that we kind of become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And that being the case, and you and I spend a ton of time together. I mean, there are couples out there who go to work, they have their own individual clubs, you see each other for dinner, and then you go to bed. So you're not spending necessarily a ton of time. And weekends, everyone's got their own things. Someone goes out to the beach with some friends, someone else goes out to brunch with someone else. Obviously, when you're married and when you're in a committed relationship, you spend a lot of time together. Of course, that also varies. You and I spend an inordinate amount of time together.
Oh my God, we spend way too much time together.
Yeah. Well, you made it sound like not such a good thing. Way too much time.
No, I'm so surprised that we spend that much time together and we still get along so well. It's incredible.
It's pretty impressive. Yeah, it's definitely impressive. And maybe that's part of why we get these little moments where this little break, this little argument, and then we kind of work through it, but we have to kind of get there because this stuff we spend 99% of our time together.
You know what's kind of sad?
Is that okay to admit that?
You know what's sad? When you go to the store or go somewhere without me, I'm like, I miss you. Just because I don't know how my day look like if you're not there. So I guess I am losing my identity in my days.
Yeah.
Just because I'm so used to spending my days with you.
Right. People fight, whether it's financial, diet, health goals, what we do with our time. It makes sense. If you spend time with wealthy people, then there is going to be a relationship to money that you're going to start developing in a different way than if you were spending time with broke ass people. If you're spending time with people really fit, you're naturally just going to be more fit. You're probably going to eat better foods.
Let's go on a hike. Let's do this. Let's go to the gym. That's what they spend their time with.
And you're also with them. You see that, that person is looking nice. Whatever. I'm going to, maybe I want to kind of do that too. And the stories they're telling about working out or about, whatever it is they've chosen to eat or whatever it is that helps their lifestyle be healthy. Whereas if you're hanging out with people where that never comes up in conversation, the conversations are maybe more around, what was the latest Russian novel you read? You'll probably be reading more Russian novels and doing less working out at the gym and, whatever, and spending less time preparing vegan, organic, gluten-free, slimming meals. So it makes sense. And one of the things I have noticed in our relationship is that we try to make it something that we are aware of. And so that way we can have control over it and not let it have control over us, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, now I'm going to start doing things that maybe don't really suit me just because you do those.
Yeah, there was a few of those where it's it just works for me, it doesn't work for you. But then there's so many other things where it's like working out is that if I work out, you will work out. Mm-hmm. Whatever food I'm cooking, it's the food you're eating, so we eat 3 meals together and we have to decide the food that we're buying at the store, mm-hmm. And so I've just found that, and I guess for a lot of couples it's like that. So I don't think it's huge in terms of food. Mm-hmm. I guess you're just cooking whatever is at home. But I think there's this pull when you come together with a partner is I used to eat a certain way and you used to eat a certain way. We used to eat very differently when we first started dating. But now we eat pretty much we've combined the way we eat,
Mm-hmm.
So that's one, I feel like, where I can't necessarily say that I almost feel like I lost the way I used to eat, you know?
You feel like you did lose the way?
Yeah, I did incorporate some of it in the way that, but I like, before I started dating you, I never used to eat nuts, you know? Like,
I always have nuts in the pantry.
you always have nuts in the pantry. And so for me, it's become this thing where it's like, if I'm hungry, before it's like I would think about going to eat a banana or an avocado, but now I think, oh, I'm gonna have some almonds. You know, that is something that 3-4 years ago I would go to the store, I wouldn't even notice almonds.
Right.
You
and
know?
It's not that that's necessarily a problem. I think one of the things that it can creep up on us as a problem is if we're not aware of it.
Yeah.
You know, and then it could also be, you know, you could get resentful. So if you would since when we first started living together, I had an apartment that you moved into. And therefore, the way things were within that apartment was kind of the way I did it. The pantry, the food. I also cooked more. So therefore, the food was the style of food that I make and that type of thing. And at a certain point, it got difficult for you. Like, I can't eat only the kind of food you eat. So we had to kind of address that. And, you know, and then there were other things too. Like, I was never a runner, but we got together and you liked running. And last year I ran in the Kilimanjaro Marathon. It's something I never would have done if I hadn't been with you, because running is just something I never did. You know, and so there are these things that we've developed, and that's a really good thing that I like.
Yeah. But then there's also other thing we're talking on Sunday where it's like, I don't eat fruit, even though I know it's good for me. Like, it's another thing. Like, I wouldn't go like, I want to eat some fruit, but you used to eat a lot of fruit.
Well, I ate more fruit and I certainly eat less now.
Because I don't
Yeah.
eat as much fruit.
Right. So it has to be something I'm a little bit more aware of, because it's not like if I went to the refrigerator to grab an apple and I was like, hey, babe, do you want an apple? If you always said yes, I would be, oh, there's a positive affirmation there. There would be something for me to then be impelled later on to go and grab us each an apple. But I'm never going to go and grab an apple and ask you, hey, babe, do you want an apple? And have you say, yeah. I mean, maybe not never, but rarely.
Rarely do I ever say yes.
Do you want an apple? Yeah, not usually.
Oh.
You know?
Yeah, I don't even it's so sad. I don't even buy fruit, you know, at the supermarket. But I've noticed like, you are eating less fruit now that you're with me.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So what else do couples do?
Well, this kind of like, you know, this idea that in our shared mind, we also kind of become surrogates for each other in some ways. And back in a old relationship a long time ago, we had borrowed someone's vehicle.
Okay.
And my partner, she left soap on the dashboard. And the soap melted in the hot sun. Ooh. And it stained the dashboard. Ooh. Right? I had borrowed it, right? But therefore, her actions were going to have an impact on whether or not someone was ever going to let me borrow their car again.
Yeah, but you had borrowed it, so
it was my responsibility.
It was your responsibility.
Right? But now somebody else like ruined something that I had borrowed, because we're kind of like operate as a unit in the eyes of the rest of the world. I could have returned it and said, you know, if it was their kid who did it, like if I would have been driving with their kid around and I came and returned it and I was like, look what your kid did, they would have said, oh, oops, even like that's too bad, even though I was the one driving it and they had lent it to me.
Yeah.
Because they would be identified with their kid, or if they had asked me, right? But anybody who I brought into it, particularly like, you know, being that it's the person who's kind of part of my identity. So that became my responsibility to, you know, and so I think one of the things that comes up with that is that in really kind of also being in sync is that the way you present yourself in the world is going to impact how people see me, for better or for worse.
Yeah.